In this video, I explain how Mualani's talents work. I even tested her talents from level 1 through 9, so you can see for yourself when the best place is to stop leveling up her talents. I'll even show you how much of a damage increase Mualani receives each level. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please consider joining my channel for some awesome benefits, like early access to all my guides and videos. Also, feel free to use the timestamps in the description if you want to skip around. Now let's get right into how Mualani's talents work. Being a Catalyst user, Mualani deals hydro damage with her normal, charge, and plunging attacks. Her charge attack has the highest damage multiplier, and even at level 1 she can deal a decent amount of damage, although her main form of damage comes from her skill, so there are only a few very niche situations where you might want to invest in this talent. But for the best Mualani experience, you should skip her normal attack talent, although I am fairly curious how much damage she can do with her charged attacks at level 9. So if that sounds interesting to you, let me know in the comments, and I'll make a YouTube short where I test her normal attack talent from level 1 to 9. But here's exactly why you should skip her normal attack talent. The majority of Mualani's damage comes from her skill, which when active, Mualani will ride her magical Sharky surfboard. But don't worry, her shark won't eat you. It's just a surfboard, I think. Well, I guess it is also a freshwater shark, in addition to being a surfboard, whatever that means. Mualani can ride her possibly real Sharky surfboard anywhere in Teyvat, but her riding abilities are better while in Natlan. This is due to Natlan's Nightsoul's blessing state and Phlogiston mechanics. If you aren't already familiar with how Phlogiston works, let me give you a brief explanation. While in Natlan, your party will gain a Phlogiston meter above your HP bar. This is essentially an energy meter similar to stamina, although you don't use this energy until you've used up your Nightsoul points when in a Nightsoul's blessing state. When in this state, you get yet another stamina bar. Depending on the character or Saurian, this bar will function slightly differently. In Mualani's case, when you use her skill, she will enter her Nightsoul's blessing state and will constantly consume her Nightsoul points while riding her Sharky surfboard. The rate that she consumes her Nightsoul points is reduced when riding on water or liquid phlogiston. Sprinting will consume more Nightsoul points. When all Nightsoul points are consumed, you will begin consuming any energy stored in your Phlogiston meter. You can refill this meter using these Phlogiston top-up stations or from certain resources found while exploring Natlan. Additionally, Mualani marks resources unique to Natlan on the minimap and will restore 15 Phlogiston when collecting these and some other harvestable items. If you have any questions on Phlogiston or anything else Mualani or Natlan related, leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer them. But now that you have a basic understanding of Phlogiston and the Nightsoul's blessing state, let's get into how her skill works while in combat. While riding around on her aggressive surfboard, Mualani can mark up to 5 enemies as prey. This icon on the enemy indicates that they've been marked as prey. Each enemy marked as prey will create a wave momentum stack. Mualani can have up to 3 of these stacks. They are shown next to her Nightsoul points meter. When she has 3 wave momentum stacks, her next attack will be converted into her most powerful normal attack, Sharky Surging Bite. The damage multiplier for this normal attack is located in her skill attributes, which is why you want to avoid wasting resources on her standard normal attack. In addition to Sharky's Surging Bite, she will also fire off shark missiles at up to 5 enemies that are marked as prey, although this damage will decrease if there's more than 1 target. At most, it will decrease to 72% of the original damage when 3 or more opponents are targeted. With their first passive talent, Sharky's Surging Bite will also generate a puffer nearby which functions similar to an energy particle. It will lock onto Mualani and travel to her, albeit at a much slower pace than an energy particle. When she picks up the puffer, it will restore 20 Nightsoul points. She can only do this twice each time she enters the Nightsoul blessing state. As a reminder, you're in the Nightsoul's blessing state whenever you see the Nightsoul points bar. So Mualani is in her Nightsoul's blessing state while riding her Sharky surfboard. If you're feeling impatient, then you can perform a more basic normal attack while riding her Sharky surfboard. This converts her normal attacks into Sharky's bites. Like with her more powerful Sharky's surging bite attack, this basic attack also deals Nightsoul aligned hydro damage. Although in addition to being much weaker, this attack also doesn't take advantage of her first passive talent. So in combat, she won't be able to stay in her Nightsoul's blessing state quite as long as when you wait until she has 3 wave momentum stacks instead. So it's much better just to ride around and mark enemies as prey, or even ride around in a circle, marking the same enemy 3 times, then unleash her powerful Sharky's surging bite normal attack. When first initiating either one of her Sharky's normal attacks, Mualani will regenerate 4.5 energy particles. Before moving on to Mualani's burst, it's worth mentioning that you are able to jump, then perform one of her normal attacks while using her skill. It's not really useful while in combat, but it is really useful while exploring. If you enter her Nightsoul's blessing state before gliding, then she stays in this state even with your wings out. This means you can use her normal attacks to lunge forward while gliding. It does have a short cooldown, but it makes getting to your destination that much faster. I should also mention her Nightsoul transmission, another Natlan related mechanic. Like with other Natlan characters, in certain situations you can perform a fast swap and immediately enter Mualani's Nightsoul's blessing state. While in an area with Phlogiston mechanics within Natlan, you can perform Mualani's Nightsoul transmission once every 10 seconds by switching to a Mualani while the active character is at a certain height in the air or currently swimming, sprinting, or in a movement mode caused by certain talents. She will then immediately enter her Nightsoul's blessing state, but she will only start off with 40 Nightsoul points. If you activate her skill while in the state and before she runs out of Nightsoul points or Phlogiston, then she will refill her Nightsoul points bar to full. You can tell that she's able to do this Nightsoul top up when her skill is glowing. Doing this while in combat and on land can result in up to 1 more of her powerful Sharky surging bites normal attacks per rotation. Okay, that was a lot of information, but here's the most important aspects to remember so far. Mualani's main form of damage comes from her normal attacks. However, you only want to perform normal attacks after using her skill, Surfshark Wavebreaker. While using her skill, her standard normal attack talent, Cooling Treatment, is overridden with new attacks from her skill. The new attack's damage multiplier is found within her skill attributes. So even though she performs a normal attack while riding her Sharky surfboard, her standard normal attack talent has nothing to do with her damage when using her skill. So you can leave her normal attack talent at level 1. You should also remember that while riding Mualani Sharky surfboard in combat, you should always get 3 stacks on her Nightsoul bar. This way you can perform her most powerful normal attack. When you have 3 stacks, you will also spawn a puffer that will restore some Nightsoul points, allowing you to perform more attacks with Mualani's toothy surfboard. Alright, with the main portion of her talents out of the way, I'll quickly cover her burst and her final passive talent. Boomsharka-laka is a pretty straightforward burst. It costs 60 energy and has Mualani's highest damage multiplier, meaning she does the most damage with her burst. Although it is just a single strike, so it's recommended to focus on leveling up her skill first. Her burst does deal AoE hydro damage based on her max HP, but the area is fairly small, so you often need the help of an animo character to get the enemies grouped up close enough for it to strike more than just one at a time. Mualani's last passive talent that I have yet to cover can increase her burst damage by up to 45% of her max HP, although I don't think this maximum damage bonus is obtainable in version 5.0. It uses another Natlan mechanic called Nightsoul Burst. After a party member triggers Nightsoul Burst, Mualani will gain 1 stack of Wave Chaser's exploits. She can have up to 3 stacks, and it lasts for 20 seconds. Mualani consumes these stacks to increase her Boomsharka-laka damage based on a percentage of her max HP. Nightsoul bursts are triggered when dealing elemental damage to an opponent while the party contains at least 1 Natlan character. A Nightsoul burst is displayed as this white star shape outline. Having more Natlan characters in the party reduces the cooldown between these Nightsoul bursts. The cooldown is 18 seconds for 1 Natlan character, 12 seconds for 2 characters, and 9 seconds if you have 3 or more Natlan characters in the party. Her passive talent doesn't specify if gaining a Wave Chaser's exploit stack resets the cooldown, or if each stack has its own cooldown, but based on the cooldown of Nightsoul bursts, it would need to do one or the either, but I'm not sure which. So depending on how the cooldown works for her Wave Chaser's exploit stacks, you either need to have at least 2 or 3 Natlan characters in the party to reach the maximum damage bonus. But most likely you'll want to have 3 Natlan characters in your party to be able to effectively obtain the maximum bonus. Right now, Kanich is still several days away, so the only other Natlan character is Kachina, which can be a very good teammate for Mualani, but I'll make a separate video on Mualani's best teams. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you. Sometimes YouTube glitches and unsubscribes people, so please take a second to check. Alright, now you might be wondering how much you should invest in her skill and burst. To help figure this out, I ran my own test to see how much of a damage increase she gets each level. This is the second time I've performed this type of test. The first time was with Emily's talents, so if you are interested in Emily, you should totally check out that video. But like in Emily's test, I chose to fight the Ion Blight Drake. This time, however, the world level has increased, so it has more HP and is now at level 103. I don't think anyone cares about the builds for the team in this test, but here's the build that I use for Mualani in every test. I did want Mualani's damage to be the showcase here, so I gave everyone else a build that only focuses on energy recharge. In fact, everyone even had Favonius weapons equipped. I also refrained from using Yelan's burst, which does work with Mualani, even when using her skill, but I wanted to make sure the rest of the team contributed as little damage as possible. After finishing my tests, I discovered a better build for Mualani using 2-piece Marjusei Hunter and 2-piece HP percent artifacts. I'll have a video dedicated to Mualani's best builds in the future, so you know the drill. Subscribe. But after a few quick tests, I found the best weapon that I currently have for her is Nervalet's signature weapon. She doesn't benefit from the charge attack buff, but otherwise it works quite well with her. But now on to the results. I did skip a few levels to save time, but as you can see, her average clear time while fighting the Drake decreased by 10 seconds by increasing her skill and burst to level 3. However, from level 3 to 6, there was less than a 5-second difference. Level 7, 8, and 9 all had pretty similar clear times, although I only redid a round with the Drake if my clear time was particularly bad. So clear time isn't the best way to see how much better she did with each new talent level. Instead, let's check out how much her damage actually increased. I've broken this down in a few ways. First, here are the results when comparing Mualani's level 1 skill and burst damage to the other levels. Going to level 3 increased her burst damage by 11.94% and her skill damage by 15%. But if we compare her level 1 to her level 9, her burst damage increased by 55.7% and her skill damage increased by 70%. This resulted in a median damage increase of 62.85%. Now I think that most people will at least rank up her talents to level 6. So here's what the results look like when comparing level 6 talents to 7, 8, and 9. Going from level 6 to 7 only led to a 6.59% median increase to her skill and burst. But if you jump from level 6 to 9, Mualani will deal about 20% more damage. Finally, here's what the results look like when comparing each level. It is definitely worth the investment to level up Mualani's skill and burst to level 6, but there's only about a 6% median damage increase with each talent level past level 6. In my Emily test, I went up to level 10 talents, and from level 9 to 10, she had a very similar median increase in damage to Mualani's level 8 to 9 talents. So my guess is that if you were to increase Mualani's skill and burst from level 9 to 10, she would likely have a median damage increase of about 5%. But because it becomes more and more expensive to increase each talent, I'll let you decide when the best place is to stop leveling up her talents. Everyone has a different level of commitment to each character, so that means that there is no actual best stopping point when leveling up a character's talents. It's purely subjective, although if it helps, I'll give you my opinions. Mualani's burst is currently one of the highest single strike attacks in the entire game. So if you're someone who just wants to take some screenshots of some massive numbers, then you can actually leave her skill at level 1 and only focus on her burst. She can deal a ton of damage with her level 3 Sharky attacks from her skill, but her strongest attack will always come from her burst. Although if you're more like me and don't care too much about getting the biggest number possible, but still want to fully take advantage of Mualani in combat, then you should focus more on her skill. Even though her strongest single strike is from her burst, she actually does most of her damage while using her skill. I don't even recommend focusing on energy recharge substats at all, because Mualani is still extremely effective in combat, even if she can only burst every other rotation. So with that in mind, I think level 8 skill and level 6 burst are good stopping points. Although if you're not too concerned about your resources, then level 8 skill and burst is also a good stopping point. Of course, if you really like Mualani, then by all means crown her talents if you'd like. After all, that's one of the best ways to show your appreciation for a character, in my opinion. Well, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I've been struggling to grow my channel, so since you made it this far, please subscribe and share this video if you can. I would really like to be able to make videos full time, so if you really want to show your support, tap that join button below the video. I have several different membership options with a ton of perks. If you can't afford as little as $1 per month, but still want to show your support, please leave a comment on my videos. Comments help show YouTube that my channel isn't dead and helps the algorithm promote my videos. But thanks so much for watching. I seriously appreciate you for making it until the end. Now check out some of my other videos. Here's a couple that YouTube thinks you'll like. I'll catch you in the next one.